Guess who's back? Yes, we are back, and the fallout continues. Some days we all know, as Leicester fans, we get these crazy social media news days, and this has turned out to be one of them. Before I introduce our guests, I'm just going to offer some context in case people don't know the context. So, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 45 minutes ago, there was some news that broke online and images and videos that Leicester City players had been partying in Copenhagen last night after a few hours after the loss against Chelsea. And when the video came out, we saw that some of them, or involved, was a sign that says, Enzo, I miss you. Yes, that's right. On your screen, on the right is Harry Winks and Connor Cody. On the other side,
Cody's face is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And opposite them, I believe it's James Justin and Hamza Chowdhury. And I've only just noticed on the bottom right of that image, is that an image of Enzo there as well? You can just see a bald head. It looks like an image of
No, I don't think
it
so.
looks like it to me, or is it just a person? Anyway, so that came out, and obviously just going on from that, here's a post from Foss Hub. Leicester players partying last night. They had a sign that said, Enzo, I miss you. And again, they are in Copenhagen. Now, I'll get into our guests. Ragsy, how are you, mate? And what do you make to this?
I'm feeling fucking stupendous today, boys. This is a brilliant evening. And I mean, just I'll brush on it quickly. I know you guys chatted about it before, but just look, slightly pissed that it's come to this, like, again, a game after the international break that we've had, knowing that we've been debating it for a while as to like whether to continue with Cooper or not. At least they've pulled the trigger. At least they've actually been proactive over clubs in and around us. And like now we can just move on to and actually start the season and just move on from this dead ass manager that was holding us back. Kind of really lost it with him yesterday with just his post-match press conference and just failures to take accountability. When it comes to this, I think it's like, obviously it's not a great look, but this shit kind of happens all the time though. That's the thing. Like, and it's just the fact that it's been put out there and it's actually documented and stuff. And it's like, it's just, you'll see it in like maybe private group chats with players and stuff. They're all chatting shit about stuff if they don't really like a manager and stuff. It's nothing new. It's just like, because this is, essentially they've gone away, I presume, maybe to like Denmark and stuff, just to have their Christmas do, and they're going on a night out and stuff, I think it's like, I think maybe people might be taking it a bit too much out of proportion, this, and but it kind of just mirrors everything that we've been saying as like behind the scenes, that the players clearly don't respect the manager, and they're clearly, and we've seen it, like, it's not that it's this is such a huge shock and a surprise. Like, we've seen players, half the squad, go and berate the manager on the touchline whilst he's walking away, and we've seen players just completely just have disputes on the pitch and then call it back to the manager post match and stuff and saying, "Oh yeah, we're just copying what we did for Vento last season." So
yeah, well, Manny, do you know why I've called you here? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. Is this the players celebrating his so-called exit last night in Copenhagen?
There you go. Yeah, on screen you can see Harry. It makes me laugh every time. Harry Winks and Connor Cody. Opposite them are James Justin and Hamza Chowdhury. I mean, Manny, we will laugh about it and we'll talk about it. But I want to ask you first, Manny. I want to ask you this, and then I'll come to Anil. Manny, it's quite bad, isn't it? Really, it is quite bad.
Yeah, it's in poor taste. They shouldn't be doing that kind of thing publicly. Maybe they thought it's in Denmark or something. Assuming it's real, by the way. I'm always worried that somebody's...
Oh, come on, Manny. Look at it. It's right there.
Don't believe everything you see. Like, see...
Manny.
Assuming it's real, it is in poor taste, but maybe it just kind of shows just how much they felt like they were missing Enzo. And they've been talking about it in the background. So, and maybe
Alves, isn't it, on the left? Will Alves on the left there?
Is that Christensen behind Cody?
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
Could be, yeah.
You
And
think they'd go to Denmark, Christensen and Vestergaard? Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
somehow
it,
Danny Ward always manages to sneak in any sort of
do you think it's more like them sending a message to the board, perhaps, of like, this is the way we like to do things?
I think it's just all kind of
Well, that's a
imploded.
concern. Yeah.
That's
Well,
a bit-
I want to go to Anil, Ragsy, quickly. So,
Yeah,
Anil,
sure.
talk to me, mate. Because, again, I mean, other reports that have come out, Anil, over the last couple of hours is that he was only told today. So would the players have even known yesterday he was going to be sacked?
I mean, clearly they did. Look, I would say I'd agree. It is in totally poor taste. It's super unprofessional, and honestly, they should all probably be fined like 1 week's wages. But despite all of that, bizarrely, me as a fan, I actually am not so against it, because it actually shows us that we've got quite a united dressing room there. It also shows you how sort of bad the manager is. The reason I would say this, which is probably a bit of an odd take, is that this has happened to me once in my career, that I was working in this game studio. As you know, that's what I do for a living. And we had this boss that was universally hated. I cannot describe the hatred that the team had for him. What happened is that they do these surveys in our company at the time, and he got the lowest ever score for any general manager of a team. It was like toxic. And so I had heard from HR that this rating was so bad that they had no choice but to sack him, even though they wanted to back this guy. And anyway, what happened, as you can imagine, is a bit similar to the Leicester situation. Is, to quote my friend, he goes, "I've never seen your team look so happy than on the day when X got sacked." And everyone went to the pub that evening, even though it was a Tuesday night, and there were a load of beers being drunk, and the team did well. So the thing is, it is totally unprofessional. But what I would say is that sometimes you've got to admit when there's mistakes, and for people to hate someone that much, it really shows you sort of how bad an opponent is. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes the personality clash, you just get off on it in the wrong way. So if I was a player there as well, you'd be like, screw it, find me a week's wages, find me 2 weeks' wages. I'm going to play harder. Everyone's together. You've got rid of the problem and go on for it. Now, yeah, a lot of people would say, no, you're completely wrong, Anil. That's completely the wrong attitude. These are professionals getting paid a lot of money. It's totally against it. But people are humans at the end of the day. And if you've had someone like that in your life where it's so toxic like that, you need an escape. And yeah, I'm just going to be doing a Cody from now on, which is that.
Look, I agree it's in bad taste, but I would, just for the record, I would say, personally, I would be holding up that sign, but I'd have the sign flashing in neon and bigger lettering, heavier font in bold, let's push it.
Yeah, come on, lads. If you're going to do it, at least put some effort in.
I'd bring a blow-up ball
there's
and
more.
just stick Cooper's face on it. I'm just like, if you really want to go to town with it, I'll just be like, oh, with it. Like, that's
there is more, lads. Sorry, Neil. There is more. There is more. Okay, so here we go. And again, of course, unlike the party, there isn't photographic image of this one, so we'll have to obviously bear that in mind. But Leicester City players turned on Steve Cooper in an owner-led dressing room inquest shortly after yesterday's 2-1 defeat to Chelsea. The Leicester owners entered the dressing room soon after the final whistle to assess the mood of players. One senior star is believed to have said Cooper's tactics and setup were a fucking disgrace. Cooper was sacked 24 hours later. And another one here. One senior player who was in the starting 11 versus Chelsea is believed to have let it be known to the owners that the manager's tactics were a disgrace. The senior executive spoke to the players shortly after the final whistle. Players were very critical of Cooper's tactics and setup against the team overseen by their former manager, Enzo Maresca. And then one more there. Cooper's short tenure did include a number of clashes with players, including Yannick Vestergaard, who was at one point banished from training. There's the bomb squad that Wolfie warned us about all year. Harry Winks and Hamza Chowdhury as well included in the fallouts. International Vestergaard also fell out of Rodgers and is believed to have been involved in a training ground confrontation with Cooper early into his reign. Now, Ragsy, does this prove once and for all that the players were never really on board with Steve Cooper?
It mirrors exactly what we've been saying. It's even before this, even before the party. And the fact is, as what I was going to say before, it's just, it all just seems to sort of imploded in that moment post the Chelsea game. And at the first opportunity that the board and maybe even Top was there as well, that the players had the first opportunity to go and speak to them, they let them know how they feel. They voiced what the fans were saying. So for that, I credit them for it. I credit these players for actually saying it how it is and doing what's best for the football club. Because at the end of the day, it's not like the players down tools for Cooper. They tried his tactics. They showed him up for it. They even made suggestions on how to, like, what they should proceed based on what they learned off last season. So at the end of the day, it's not a case of, if it was the case that they tapped down tools, then maybe you can go back to them and say, well, hang on, you haven't been doing your fucking job either. So, but they tried his way. And the fact is, it's just completely flawed. And they called him out for it. And at the first opportunity, like as soon as the board saw that, probably behind the scenes, they're going, yeah, that is untenable. Like he's completely lost the dressing room. They have no respect for him. And they
were definitely aware of it. They would. I mean, we've had rumours all year, right, since pre-season, that there were fallouts, and we've heard rumours of James Justin being spilling the gossip a little bit at the NFL and all of this stuff. And obviously, people like, no offense to him, he's been very quiet this afternoon. Believe it or not, Graham, he is very much been like, it's all rubbish. No one actually knows whether the players like him. I mean, Manny, again, does this prove that they just never? Actually, no. I'm going to ask you this, Manny, instead. I'm going to ask you this question instead. It's like, we've got to think of it. Just look at it as an outsider, right? It's quite bad that this has all happened. Surely that they've not gotten over their ex-girlfriend Enzo, and they're taking that out on the new girl. That's how it seems. If I pull myself out of it a little bit as somebody who wanted Cooper gone, and you look at it, you think it's actually quite bad what they have done. Actually,
nah, it's not that. No, not at all. It's a professional organisation, and they had a high-level management in charge. The high-level management's been replaced with brand new junior level management, and the company's going down the toilets. And they've said, you know what? It's not just everybody's going to be on our case if we go down. They'll blame me. They'll blame my kids, or when I go out, they'll point it out to me. My wages will get halved if I go down. This is not how we're staying up. And the two moments that were massive indicators for me was Conor Cody went on Monday night. I think it's the Monday Night Football on 5 Live. And Wout Fast, when they went on international duty, not this one, but the one before, did an interview in Belgium with a Belgian newspaper. And both of them, rather than talking about Leicester City and this season and the challenges they've got, all they wanted to talk about was how much they miss Enzo, the tactics, the things that he taught them, and how it was illuminating, and they're developing as players, and they'd learnt so much. Wout Fast was talking about his own passing, for example. But that's really, really weird that you're talking about a manager from the previous season. And it was telling then, and we had those other incidents like half time when Conor Cody's talking to Steve Cooper. It's like the players were basically probably trying to tell him that actually your approach is not working and we need to try this, which he tried in the Forest game briefly, but he's just not designed to coach you and train you that way. And again, it just changes week after week. The personnel, the lineup, the tweaking. He is the real Tinkerman. There was no 2 weeks that were the same at all. Every week there was something that was different, and not one of the attempts really worked. So, yeah, time to go.
Before I want to ask you something, Neil, but before I do, I just realised, Thomas, that you've become a member. Sorry, it didn't pop up. Thanks to becoming a member of the channel, much appreciated. And Neil, now, again, I'll bring this back up. What do you make to this, mate? Do you think this could be true? And if so, what do you make of it? About how, Top... Because I believe that Top went to the dressing room to get a feel for the atmosphere. That's all believable. We hear that Vishai, Top quite often go to the training ground and into the locker room, and see the players after a game. I mean, yeah, do you think it's true? And if so, who might it be? I mean, it could be anyone, really. It's probably one of the lads on the photo, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like everyone thinks it's Vardy, but you never know. I mean, sometimes, again, I'm going to give you another workplace scenario. I had this guy in our team that was like, he was like the nicest guy, the last person you'd ever expect to cause trouble. And we had someone in the team, this is for a different company, and basically they ended up getting into a fist fight and he punched him. And then like HR asked us, like, did Richard bully? Did he punch this guy? And everyone was like, no, I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it. So everyone saw it. Everyone saw it in full line of day. But everyone had his back because of like that guy who was called Lee. He deserved to get punched. So yeah, I can believe it. And
Lee's at home. Lee's watching this at home like, oh.
I think even he knew that he did deserve to get punched, to be honest with you. So it is interesting. So who's speculating? I mean, yeah, you'd think that probably either. Yeah. I suspect that. But when he came
is he really injured and ill? Did he just want to get off?
Maybe.
It wouldn't surprise me if he came off. And then he was just like, "Yeah, fuck this." Like, I ain't dealing with this for 80 minutes. Like, and that's the thing. You probably not enough pride to down tools for the sake of his club. So that I respect him if it was.
Carry on, Anil. Sorry, what you were saying, mate.
No. I think it's fine. You know, I kind of made the point, but I mean, yeah, it's unprofessional. But I just think that like these sort of things is very different when you've got like something where you're so close to people every day that it's like a make it or break it thing, and you can understand the frustration. And actually, like I'm saying, what I find weird here is that I think it's worse when you have dressing rooms that are all united in different ways and there's cliques and things like that. So bizarrely, it kind of encouraged me that they're all so happy together and they can unite in something. And I forget if it was Ragsy or Manny who said that they hadn't down tools, but that's 100% true. That's the one thing you got to give to them, man. Everyone was really, they were trying to make the tactics work. Even against Manchester United, they were still having, I mean, when Justin got taken off, he looked absolutely fed up. But I don't really think there's been a performance where you just say like, oh, pathetic. The players never even tried. As weird as it says, I've never seen that. I think that they've been trying in the best circumstances against it. So yeah, totally unprofessional. Should never condone it. But in reality, I'd love to see what people in chat think. But you know, maybe it will be very interesting to see what the next game is, though, because they're going to have to be absolutely like, yeah. And the other slight worry is who comes in next, because as well, like, if you're the new manager that comes in, you're going to have to, regardless of who you are, explain to them that that is not okay, right? And if it's a bit of a disciplinarian that's coming in, like, what if you have a little bit of like, is it like one of those crazy classes? You know, in school, there's always like, oh, no one likes teaching 9B because they're like, you know, they're the crazy kids, and you know, hey.
Yeah, but I never had that.
Well, Ragsy, I'm coming to you. Ragsy, I'm going to ask you. Neil mentioned there you need somebody, the next manager, to come in and say that's not okay. I mean, that should be what Top does now, surely. Top, Rudkin, whoever's in charge now at the football club, higher up, needs to sit down with these players and say, what you've just done is not good at all, because we've done what you wanted and what the fans want. We've got rid of the manager, and now it's going to be tainted a little bit, in my opinion, by this bad press that is going to be out there of these players who have gone over to. And we've got to remember, guys, like people, we laugh because it's Cooper out, but they've just lost at the King Power in front of 30,000 Leicester fans. They've just lost, and they've just gone out celebrating in Copenhagen. Even if Cooper hadn't been sacked, we'd be kicking off on Twitter, on X, on social media, saying, what the fuck, these players going out celebrating after a loss. So, Ragsy, what do you make to it all, mate?
Well, the thing is, when it comes to the footballing world, that might be taken a bit out of proportion, because like, if it's gonna, like, they're allowed like nights out and days off, and unfortunately it may be inconveniently timed that it's right after the game that we lost, and like, because if it happened then at least they'll have like today to recover, and I think they'll be back on training in Tuesday, so they'll be fully fit and refreshed and ready to go and stuff. Like, yeah, okay, it's not a good look, and you know, they do have to go away and make sure they put in a performance now. And I think like when it comes to Top and actually sort of disciplining them, saying it can't happen again, I think just take it as a whole and look at it objectively over the course of the season. Be like, listen, like, okay, it may come to the end of the season and you may be vindicated if we do get a new manager in and you do sort of gel together, and okay, we can sit here and see that it's Cooper was the main problem. But if there's any sort of future incidents, and you may pinpoint to maybe like a Hamza Chowdhury, for instance, that has controversial figure, if you know, for whatever you sort of think of him, and you know, you may sort of pinpoint decisions, and I think the club will make a decision in terms of their future when it comes to the end of the season. So, but for the sake of, you know, for this, when it comes to a whole unit that is just universally against Cooper and it just wanted to hound him out as soon as possible, like, we weren't seeing these issues under Enzo. And like any sort of issues that were about to occur, they were just immediately cut out. So like, they was just like, okay, well, you're not playing then. And Cooper was never really the one to go and have a control, because like, he just never commanded any sort of respect from his team in the first place. He just essentially wanted to be one of the lads. It was like a supply teacher, and just sort of dished out a lesson plan to say, and
everyone
like,
just does what they want because they know they like the supply teacher ain't got any power, whatever. Yeah.
And their lesson plan is essentially like, for the sake of ideas, like, oh, okay, let's go and build a glossary. You guys all think of the definitions and stuff in like a science class, and then you do presentations to each other and you sort of learn off each other's students' work and stuff. That's it. That's what Cooper essentially brought.
I love every time. And the best way of describing Cooper is always relating to school, like some kind of school teacher, teacher, teacher. Manny, Anil did make a good point though. When he kind of alluded to it. when the next manager comes in, what if the players don't like him either? Like this can't happen all the time. You know what I mean? We can't accept that.
I don't know. There's the new way of managing is you've got to get people to buy into what you're doing, and that is the key thing. Now, sometimes there's a different way you could do it. You know, Moyes might be the old school way of doing it, but I think these players, Enzo Maresca's not exactly a hard character, and he's not particularly brutal or ruthless, but he's just very clear in his instructions. It's very simple. This is what we do. If you don't like it, we're out the door. No big drama. You can go. No problem. It's very, very simple in that we're going to teach you to play the specific way, and these are the reasons why. So you do explain to people why you're doing this, and that created an environment that everybody enjoyed. The players also felt that they were developing individually, and the situation goes on to become a happy-full situation and results improve. As results weren't exactly... the atmosphere wasn't toxic at the moment. I wouldn't call it toxic. But you can see now with back-to-back, with several defeats in a row, with the fixture list coming, the fans were turning, the situation was becoming toxic. You know, I half thought that Gaz was going to turn up with a bucket of chicken in a cab the next week. And, you know, it was almost getting that way soon. So, you know, let the players, they've been suffering under this too, don't forget. And they, like we said, it's hard to blame the players. The players have been, I mean, I think there is some professional pride in those players. You know, I don't question their attitude. They have been putting in a shift. So from their point of view, it's a pressure release valve. You know, finally he's gone. Like us, we all have hope again. Let them go out and have several beers and get out of your system. Come back next week. You know, and like you said, but the pressure is on you now. You've got what you wanted. Now do something with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring this up a sec. Thanks to Anil for sending this to me. So obviously this is the Telegraph's article. So it says Steve Cooper stunned by Leicester sacking with Graham Potter a likely contender. So Leicester have ended Cooper's reign as head coach after 157 horrific days in a ruthless move decided by
too many days.
I'd agree. So it says here the 44-year-old is understood to have been left stunned by his sacking, which was relayed to him by the director of football, John Rudkin, on Sunday afternoon. So today, the club were under threat of a hefty point deduction for breaching PSR, which eventually saw off, citing a technicality in the process. However, Top felt compelled to make the decision now and prevent last season's championship title winners from potentially sliding to a second relegation in 3 seasons. They go on to explain how I think, you know, this has been influenced a little bit by the Brendan Rodgers situation where we left it too long and it ultimately was too late when we replaced him. It says here is again, which I've already started to see, lads. I'm sure you have as well. It's polarized opinions externally. I think we all know
just go up a bit, Locks, just a little bit, because here we go. Look. Cooper's short tenure did include a number of clashes with players, including Yannick Vestergaard, who was at one point banished from training, but also Harry Winks and Hamza Chowdhury. Denmark international Vestergaard also fell out with Rodgers and is believed him involved in the training ground confrontation with Cooper early into his reign. Sorry, continue. I think that is quite saucy because the Vestergaard one we did know about, but it's multiple players that have clashed with him.
Well, Manny, you can believe it, right? I mean, especially Harry Winks, because he is one of the players who has been quite vocal on the pitch towards Steve Cooper. You've seen him berate Steve Cooper at times, whether it's for substitutions or something like that. So that's not a surprising one. But Hamza, I mean, what's Hamza get? What's Hamza's beef with Manny? What do you reckon, mate?
He's probably tired of Cooper talking bollocks and trying to give some system with no methodology, no reasoning, no proper training, and we're not getting anywhere. And they've had enough, and they've just gone like, no, I'm sick of hearing this voice. And as fans, one of the bits of information I always find useful are interviews, and he was coming out with some absolute. I don't know about you guys, but his interviews were winding me up. Like some of the nonsense, the riddles, the talking in circles. The one I told you about on Saturday, he said live on TNT, is we are making progress despite going backwards. I mean, what? I mean, if this is the kind of shit that I have to hear every day, how long before I would go nuts with this guy? I mean, it's just, there's no way of dressing it up. There was zero indicator in any way that Steve Cooper was capable of handling this particular job for whatever reason. The players weren't having it. He had no support from the fans. He didn't have any sort of history with us like he did with Forest, so we didn't owe him anything. And look, every manager gets a blank canvas. We want Steve Cooper, or wanted him to succeed. But we could tell by interviews, by selections, by lineups, by quotes from players, there were so many little bits of information. And how many bits of information did you see on the contrary? How many were saying, the manager's doing great things, or anything of that regard? Did you hear from anyone? I didn't. I can't even think of one story that came out in that positive way, and that's just unreal.
Yeah, I'd agree. Manny and Ragsy, I'm going to drop you out shortly, but because there's a couple of the people who want to get their opinions as well. But I want to ask you that. Actually, Manny, I'm not going to. Well, I'll ask you something else. But Ragsy, because I haven't spoken to you today about this, who is your number one choice to replace Cooper?
For me, number one, just including free agents who get out of the club, weighing it up, Ruud van Nistelrooy for me. Just in terms of, because I think people sort of overlook the fact, and I think they're judging him off 3 games at United, which I think is just unfair to do. His involvement in the youth setup over at PSV to sort of build a side that is now dominating in the Eredivisie and a set style of play, very seamless from the transition over to Enzo whilst being adaptable to the Premier League as well. Just bringing through some incredibly talented players and just his demeanour, his character, just what he can offer in terms of man management. I think there's a lot of good potential there and the right sort of signs that I see. And I'm sort of looking past over Prem experience because I don't think that's particularly relevant in this sort of situation. It's about the ideas that you put forward. So but I'm open though. But he'd be my preference for me.
Yeah, and Manny, just remind us who your choice is.
I'm going Big Willie style, Free Willie Caballero, but with Esteban Cambiasso as his assistant. And in January, we'll get 3 first-teamers and 2 Argentinian under-21 players from nowhere we've never heard of. It was superb. Let's do that. Oh, by the way, the reason for that also is a serious point, is the players have been trained to play the Enzo Pep way from last season. So finding someone who can just reconnect with what we were doing last season should be a relatively easy transition because the players are used to what you're going to be doing in training. They know their roles, they know their jobs. They were doing it all of last season. To have a completely different manager, I would make the case that having another brand new system who wants another profile of players, there's a learning process, there's a finding each other process. The actual easy integration is to repeat what we were doing last year. Let's just find the right person to do it. Willie Caballero or Carlos Vicens, Pep's assistant.
There we go. Right, cheers, Ragsy. Cheers, Manny. Hopefully see you soon tomorrow evening on the live call-in. Cheers, boys. Here is Mr. Ant, mate. I know you've done a live already today, but talk to me, mate. Well, tell me your reaction first to Cooper before I ask you some other stuff.
It's the right decision, but I'm amazed we've made it this quickly. I am. I genuinely thought, under Rodgers, how long we had to wait. I was half expecting the same thing again. So as much as it was a wrong appointment, I think we've also got to give Top credit for putting his hands up and saying, actually, I've got this wrong. Because it would have been very easy for him just to ignore it and just say, please, and hope that individual quality dragged us through. But I think it became apparently clear yesterday more than ever that the players just weren't having any of it. Don't know if you've seen it, but there's a video going around of the players at a darts tournament. And
mate, this is the title. It's not darts. They went to a party in Copenhagen, mate. Here it is. So this is what we went live for. So Enzo, I miss you. The sign that they held up. There's obviously a photo of Conor Cody. And Anil, do your impression of Conor Cody again, mate. Conor Cody, Harry Winks, probably a couple others, and then opposite them there was James Justin and Hamza Chowdhury as well. We've just been talking about it, Ant. I mean, what is your take on it? Are you unimpressed with it? Do you find it a bit? Well, it is definitely unprofessional. There's no question about that. But yeah, what do you make to it all?
It's a bit unprofessional, like you say, but I think it was apparent from anyone who's been to games, watched games, that players weren't buying into what he was doing. I genuinely think, the Sky Sports interview Harry Winks did after the Forest game, I think that's a worse look than this.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think, Satanil?
Yeah, because it's being even more sort of cutting, I would say, because this is supposed to be behind closed doors, and you do know that players are going to get up to certain things, and I mean, you could say it looks unprofessional, but what does that really do? It just says that the players went out for a night together and they missed their old manager. I mean, do you know what I mean? If you're really going to take it to a legal case, there's no evidence there saying that they're looking to destroy the club or anything like that. You know what I mean? If the legal eagles got involved, but as Ant says, if you literally were caught on TV, doing your professional duties and you've represented your current boss, you could say that that's a far worse sort of crime. So yeah, I mean, obviously they're not going to get away with it and they deserve everything that's coming to them. But, it reminds me of, you remember during the title win, there was that time where they went out for a party and they all dressed up in fancy dress. It was also in Copenhagen. I guess it was the same club. And again, there was all the media was trying to say, oh, look at these Leicester players. Who do they think they are going out for a Christmas day? And then they came back and win like 5 games in a row and end up winning the title. It's like, there's something to be said for being together as a team. And that's why I'm saying how, despite it being unprofessional, whatever, the fact that they are all together and they all seem to be laughing. Look, get that picture up again. They're all laughing. There isn't one that seems like they're awkward and they don't want to be there. They all look like they're like absolutely loving it, right? So brilliant,
Yeah, I mean, there's a comment. The sign is very unprofessional, but could it have been booked for a while and is just an Xmas do booked weeks ago and Cooper sacking?
Yeah, I think that's
a coincidence.
Well,
we've just seen. Well, we've just seen we just read the Telegraph, and it said that apparently Cooper only found out today on behalf of from John Rudkin, and he was quite surprised about it. I don't know if you lads saw it as well. Neil, I think I sent it to you. I'll try to find it to put it up on screen. Where is it? It is the report that said, here we go, from the Telegraph. Cooper had intended to evolve Leicester's style of play from Maresca's ultra-dominant approach, but fans have become increasingly frustrated by what they perceive as a team with no identity. I mean, Anil, have you seen any attempt at an evolution? Because I don't think any fans have, and that's what has pissed a lot of people off, especially, and I know it's what we asked for, by the way. I know it's what we asked for, but especially since he went back to it for a couple games.
Yeah, it seems more like the opposite, a devolution, going backwards the other way, definitely not going forward. So he might have intended to involve it, but he absolutely didn't. We literally did it this morning. Guy had no idea what he's doing.
Enzo, I miss you. Somebody asked what the sign says.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, Ant? What do you think to this here, where it says that Cooper had intended to evolve Leicester's style of play?
Very easy to say after you've been sacked. We've seen the evidence or the lack of evidence. It's like, no, I just don't buy it, to be honest. I really, really don't buy it. But I also think that he's probably been talking to, do you see the articles that John Percy and Rob Tanner put out midweek, where it was like Leicester a work in progress and this, that, and the other? It's like, I feel like it's very easy to say about a manager who's been in for 12 league games, 11 league games. But when you watch us like every single game, it's just clear as day. It's not true.
I'd like to just clarify, Trappelings, in case you think it is AI. No, it's not. There's actually a video. If you go to Twitter or X and just search Enzo, I miss you, or Leicester players, or probably Denmark, or Steve Cooper, or Connor Cody, you will see the video. It's not AI. No way the players were pissing up Cooper's leg at a party. For fuck's sake, even Winks was there. Manny says, evolved Homo sapiens to Neanderthal is not an evolution.
Savage.
Yeah. Obviously, Conscious says it's too early for an Xmas do, but based on the pics, there aren't actually any players in the picture with the sign. No, again, the video there is, mate. Yeah, if you go to Twitter, it shows the video of the sign coming in and then the players acting like that. And
I mean, I suppose, to be fair, there's no saying that it was yesterday. And in fact, I suppose the game did end early, but I mean, to get from the game to Copenhagen and do that, it could have happened like last week or something during international break. That's all the thing there, because normally when they do their Christmas do, they might have done it now, because you start hitting the games every 3 days when you weren't there. So the timing, it might not necessarily have been after the game. We'll see. But as I said, I think it's very interesting, as Ant was saying, that both Rudkin and Cooper seem to be putting out press pieces to defend the project and get behind the manager. So it's interesting that Top's just come down, seen that his star players were like that. He's known Jamie Vardy for 10 years. Or if they're just saying, Top, this guy's an absolute muppet, you've got to get rid of him, he's an idiot. He's going to be like, yeah, I knew it. Out of here.
Yeah, I mean, and I keep saying this. Ben said, I just don't get why they didn't sack him in the international break. How can one game suddenly change their minds? The only thing I would say in response to that, Ant, and it is something I'm going to get onto in a second, maybe they have just been lining up the replacement over the international break.
Maybe I think there's an element of that, and I've heard some rumours. How true they are, I'll let you sort of leave to yourself. But apparently, after that game, Winks, Vardy, and a few other senior players were straight up to Top, because you could see Winks wasn't happy, was he? When he came off, Vardy was arguing with someone. I don't know if it was Wout Faes or Steve Cooper on the sideline, but we've seen a lot of players just arguing with Steve Cooper. So it's like, I do think there's an element of the fact that the players just yesterday had enough.
Yeah, I mean that's what. But Ant wasn't vaping, by the way. Ant, it was me. So I'm not Ant. Yeah, this is what you're talking about, Ant. Though the players apparently turned on Cooper in an owner-led dressing room inquest. Apparently, the owner went into the dressing room to assess the mood of the players. One senior star is believed to have said Cooper's tactics and setup were a fucking disgrace. To be fair, I mean, when I hear that, I think Vardy or Winks personally, but I don't,
Surely
I
it's
don't have
got
any
to be Vardy,
information.
The others aren't going to have that tight a relationship with Top, are they? It's going to have to be people that have been there for absolute years, and he's the last one of that brigade. Even all Brighton's gone and things like that.
To be fair, though, it depends just how much confidence you've got, because you having confidence in front of 30,000 people to be sort of the man that Vardy is, and confidence in the dressing room with your sort of teammates and close mates are two different things. So It could be someone that you completely don't expect. I wouldn't be surprised, and I've got nothing to prove this, if it was James Justin, because the amount he's getting exposed and just made to look like a crap player when he's not. It wouldn't surprise me if it's someone like that who's not sort of the most outgoing.
Been there a long time as well. Been there a long time, James Justin.
The obvious name is Vardy, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's someone that we sort of expect slightly less.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw a video of Roy Keane offering out an Ipswich fan.
I've just seen that.
Yeah,
it's all going off today, isn't it?
Apparently, he said to the fan, "I'll see you out in the car park." So that's a funny one. Right. Well, I want to end on this, lads. There's 107 people here, so thank you to all of you. You're here for the gossip, so I'm bringing some gossip now. Since we were live earlier, rumors have spread like wildfire online, and I can say that two people who I usually rely on for information have both said the same thing. Apparently, the next Leicester City manager is going to be David Moyes. Apparently. Now, of course, it's rumours and we don't know for sure, and it could all be BS. But Ant, what do you make to that, if that is true?
I'm not massively against it. I think he will come in and shore up the defence, make us harder to beat. I think he keeps us up, but it won't be exciting. But to be honest, we're at the point, I don't care if it's exciting. Can we just stop leaking 2 or 3 goals every game?
Yeah. What about you, Neil? Since we last spoke, obviously it was discussed, David Moyes, but what do you make to those rumours?
Well, that's what I was bringing up earlier when we were talking with Manny and Ragsy, because the problem is that I don't have anything against David Moyes. I don't like his style of play, but you've got to give him a lot of credit. What he's achieved in the game is a lot, right? Go all the way back to his Everton spell where he got them into the Champions League, had them in top 4 or top 5 for a long time. He got the Man United job. Okay, he didn't do so well there. That's a tough job. Then at West Ham, he rebuilds his reputation, wins a European trophy with them. So he's proved himself as to be a very solid manager. But I think the issue is that like clearly our squad want to play a certain brand of football, and David Moyes just doesn't play that type of football. And so unfortunately, it feels like, is this not just making the same mistake again? Like, is it just feeling like you've got 2 things that aren't compatible and it will break? The only thing I'll say that's kind of like a counterpoint to that, though, is that, for example, David Moyes, when he was at West Ham, he was looking after Declan Rice, developed him to a £100 million player, did really good with Jared Bowen. He improved quite a number of players in that team. He did the same when he was at Everton as well. So it's not like it's terrible. But yeah, I think just the thing that concerns me with that, if it's true, is not that he's a bad manager, but I get scared that it could just be deja vu, that again, you're going to have a coach that is going to force them to play a certain way and you're going to have player power. And clearly we've got player power here, right? Because they're all united together. So, you know, the smartest thing to do if you would be a director of football is you'd have to ask some of your senior players, listen, we're thinking of appointing X. What do you think about him? Because if you make the same mistake again and you appoint someone where just like, absolutely not. But then, so that's with the David Moyes thing. But then I think counterpoint, because then what's interesting is that in that John Percy article, they clearly mentioned Potter again, which is the guy that always keeps getting linked with. Now, stylistically, Potter definitely fits the profile and what he's trying to achieve. But the thing with Potter, and you mentioned substitute teacher there, Logs, and that's what worries me more the other way, that could Graham Potter come into a raucous dressing room, right, and control that lot? Because to be fair to David Moyes, I think he's experienced enough that he would know when to put his foot down and he wouldn't be over-ordered. But he literally, you know, that might have been something that he's learned. So, you know, I don't know. If you had to ask me personally of those two, I would choose Potter, because I think you want to go, like I say, you needed someone who's got something at least similar to the way that we set up last season. I just feel it's too much of a break. Like, do you think Harry Winks is going to be happy if he's been told that you're not going to have the ball like 25% of the time in games and you just kick it long the whole time? I don't see it happening. So let's see.
Do you think, though, that because, you know, we always say as Leicester fans, or we have been saying that, oh, well, there's no clear identity. Do you think we will just be fine if we do have an identity, but it is a negative identity? Do you think then it'll be like, fine, yeah, at least we've got an identity?
I think as long as it's an identity that everyone buys into, like in terms of the players. But what you said earlier is obviously these players want to play a specific brand of football. And it's like, I think David Moyes isn't as defensive and as negative as he gets branded. If you think of some of the football he had West Ham playing when they had Jesse Lingard and that team during lockdown. When he's got, yeah, right. Like, absolutely. But like, they did, at times they played very good football, but because against a big six, they always make themselves really hard to beat and an ugly team. That's all David Moyes is painted as. But if you actually look at a lot of the other games that he played away from a big six, I think he gets a bit of an unfair rap.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I agree to a certain degree. I'm not.
What do you think, Locks?
I'm not on about quality.
Trying to duck it there.
Well, I'm not on about quality. If you're looking at kind of style of play, you could probably say it's a sideways step, isn't it? And you know, if the rumors about the players spearheading maybe this outing of Cooper because of the tactics, the style of play, etc., that is what's making the David Moyes rumors seem a little bit unbelievable to me. Like, what if that has been a massive part of the decision, then why get David Moyes? And you would think maybe that the players will be consulted. If they are, again, a part of the reason why he was outed, surely they will be consulted as well, with the senior players, you know what I mean? So I've just seen Ruud van Nistelrooy is apparently in talks to join Hamburg FC. Hamburg FC. So I don't know whether that's true or not. Of course, I'm sure the club have been speaking to Potter. I think that's undeniable. Whether he's coming or not, whether he's even the favourite or not, they would have spoken to him because we can't stop speaking to him at the moment. So that narrows it down. I think I called this the other week, Anil, and it's probably proven true because it hasn't been in any of the reports. I think the club will probably now look elsewhere from Carlos Corberán, and that is solely down to he had like a really good start, and then they have dropped off slightly. And I think that's maybe just made the owners look away from him a little bit. And that appears to have happened because he's not in any of the reports. Yeah. So I think I called earlier, now when we had the favourites up, I think it will be Van Nistelrooy, Potter, or Moyes. I think it'll be one of them. I think it'd be one of them. I'd love a Will Still. We've spoken about him quite a bit on the channel. I'd love a Will Still, but I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, let's get final words again. There's 111 people here. Please keep getting your comments in. And final words on the whole situation, mate. On the whole situation, the Cooper sacking, the players partying, which they may or may not have known about the sacking. I mean, yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, it's the right decision. I think the players would have been aware. I'm not convinced that those pictures were taken from last night, to be honest. It's
I don't know. I think they were.
You know what the media's like, though. They'll put 2 and 2 together and make 6. So I don't know. And if it is, to be honest, I don't really care. Right? I know it's unprofessional, this, that, and the other, but I'm not asked. And it's not as if Cooper can give them a punishment of like doing running on Monday, is it?
Well, that is true. I'm just trying to translate. I've just used translate to translate the original article that the Party News came out on. It's a Danish website, of course. It said here that it took place on Saturday following the defeat to Chelsea, and it took place at the Museo nightclub in inner Copenhagen. They put the video, and yeah, it says in the video, a woman is seen holding a sign with a text that is difficult to decipher as anything other than the sign reads, "Enzo, I miss you." Yeah, reading through it, this Danish website is pretty sure it was last night. But again, I hear you. Obviously, the media would do anything for clicks, so you never know. The final comment of the stream is going to go to this one. I think it's, I can't remember who was saying it earlier. It was Doc, wasn't it? Andreas.
Yeah.
He said something very similar. We have to get behind the manager, and if the next appointment turns out as bad as the first one, I don't know what we're gonna. Well, we'll be playing in the championship next season, won't we, lads? You know what I mean? Because this is the final chance, isn't it? This is like the one shot. Like you make the right appointment, and you stay up. If you don't, we're doomed. We're doomed, and then I don't know what we're gonna do. But yeah, all right. Well, that's another 50 minutes, another 50. So that's 3 live streams today, Anil, and obviously, and you've done a couple. Time to get a bit of rest.
Steve Cooper getting sacked, you'll do 6 hours. Who cares? Let's be honest with you. We wanted to stay. Everyone's happy. I don't know if you can see, I've had the shave since the last time we had that. No lies. You know what happened? I'm not even going to lie. What happened is I poured myself a drink. I had a bath. I don't think I had the bath in about a year. I only have a shower, and I just laid in my bath, and I was like, yeah. So that is how I'm feeling. It's all good. I feel hopeful once. Maybe in a month's time, I'll be back to dread. But there was no way, let's be honest, there was no way we're staying up with Cooper in charge. Now we got a chance. So blue tinted glasses on.
I know, mine are down. I can't reach them. But yeah, Akif says you look like a brand new man. I think you've lost some grey hairs. Not like you had any to begin with, mate. But yeah. All right then. Well, get your rest, Anil, because tomorrow, of course, like I said earlier, it is the live call-in show. And Anil, actually, Chester makes a good point, mate. The first team analyst did leave the club with Cooper, so there's an opening, mate. You know, there's an opening.
I don't think I could be worse than that guy, to be honest with you. But no, they need people who are actually good at their job if we're going to stay up. So, you know, let's get someone good in.
And give the channel a shout out, mate, and obviously let the people know that obviously you've done a stream already today, so they can go and check that out.
Yeah, so Ant's Leicester fan channel. So I've done, I think this is my 3rd stream on Steve Cooper. It feels like it's going to be a topic that's rinsed slightly, but I'm expecting over the next few days every manager under the sun to be linked. So yeah, come and check out streams. Hopefully by the time we play Brentford, we'll have a manager announced.
We shall see. Thank you all. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. It's 20 to 9. We'll see you tomorrow for the live call-in show at 7 p.m. Bye-bye.